Imagine discovering that the singer whose voice shaped your childhood secretly signed away extra years of life simply to protect a single perfect note. That breathtaking swap between mortality and melody was only the first domino. Behind every beloved country anthem lies a hidden diary page, a sealed envelope, or an eerie prediction that waited until the curtain fell before stepping into the spotlight. Tonight, we pull back that final curtain on 21 legendary artists whose records spun memories for decades. Their music rode dusty highways, filled honky-tonks, and drifted through transistor radios, yet the truths uncovered after their funerals are more gripping than any lyric they ever wrote. Stay until the final revelation. The hairs on your arm may rise when you hear how a forgotten stack of letters rewrote the standing legend of the Man in Black in 2024. But first, meet the racer who chose melody over medicine. Marty Robbins lived 2 full careers at once, roaring around NASCAR speedways by day and crooning gunfighter ballads by night under desert skies. When doctors proposed a delicate bypass that could have granted him a quieter, longer future, they warned that even a microscopic slip might roughen his velvet tenor forever. Marty thanked them politely, folded the release forms, and walked out. 6 days after a 3rd heart attack, he was gone. Hospital charts, unsealed years later, confirmed the rumor. He had traded tomorrow for the chance to finish one more encore in perfect pitch. Fans who learned the choice felt his classic El Paso shift, from a tale of fatal love into a chilling autobiography, a gunshot echo crossing from fantasy into fact. The man drove fast, sang faster, and left both engines smoking on the pavement behind him. Glenn Campbell confronted creeping forgetfulness with a composer's precision. The instant doctors uttered the word Alzheimer's, he marched into a studio and forged "I'm Not Gonna Miss You," a goodbye addressed to the memories he knew would wander off without him. During his farewell tour, he invited cameras backstage, letting the world witness chords slipping from muscle memory, then chasing them back down the fretboard with stubborn grace. In a spiral notebook, he cataloged which family faces he feared would fade first. Those pages, cracked open years later, revealed that he tracked his own deterioration the way other musicians track royalties. That horrifying self-awareness makes the song feel less like resignation and more like an act of scientific courage, a man observing the vanishing of himself while he could still hold a pick. Buck Owens spent decades grinning through cornfield skits on Hee Haw, yet letters locked in a Bakersfield bank vault confessed that the clown mask felt like a muzzle tightening each season. He begged future biographers to remember the innovator who electrified the twangy Bakersfield sound, not the punchline cowboy who dodged custard pies on Saturday night television. Each page trembled with frustration that the very show keeping lights on for his band had stolen the serious legacy he craved. Reading them now, every scripted pun lands like a heartbreak chord. The envelopes were labeled, "Open only when the jokes stop," and when they finally did, country scholars discovered a pioneer haunted by laughter he never truly shared. Roger Miller's public persona crackled with humor, yet a shoebox of Motel cassettes uncovered after his passing played a different tune. Alone after midnight, he balanced a pocket recorder on a stack of takeout boxes, poured soupy ice into a plastic cup, and whispered verses that sounded more prayer than punchline. He wondered whether crowds laughed with him or just borrowed his jokes to forget their own sadness. One memo recorded in Amarillo ends with him admitting he feared his heart would be remembered as a rubber chicken. Hearing the brittle demo today, fans realized the king of the road had been mapping exits nobody else could see, driving his wit like a rental car he knew must be returned dented by dawn. Dottie West shimmered in sequined gowns that caught every spotlight, yet her checkbook lived in permanent shadow. Royalty advances vanished into towering hospital invoices and the lavish costumes she felt obliged to commission, so radio programmers would still picture her in Technicolor. On the August night her car crashed, she was driving to negotiate a comeback tour designed to erase the debt. The cruel irony of that unfinished journey still fuels late-night cafe debates along Music Row. Probate filings later revealed a suitcase full of handwritten budgets and motivational notes taped to mirrors. The star most fans assumed floated on silk was actually stitching her last parachute while falling. Jim Reeves flew sleek single-engine craft for convenience and a dash of silver screen glamour, yet private letters revealed he battled quiet dread each time the propeller coughed to life. In flowing cursive, he described nightmares where storm clouds folded like iron gates around the wings. On the evening he vanished from radar, forecasters had issued violent weather warnings he underlined in red, tucked into his jacket, and ultimately ignored because a theater full of ticket holders waited. Investigators later placed those neglected advisories beside the crumpled flight plan like caution signs on a wrecked highway, prompting fans to wonder whether the man celebrated for velvet calm had been whispering doubt into the cockpit microphone all along. Johnny Cash wore black for the downtrodden, yet unseen ink revealed how fiercely devotion still glowed. After June Carter passed, he wrote her daily letters, stacking them beside the rocking chair she favored. In 2024, archivists opened the box and found reflections on grief so vivid they almost hummed like the low E string of his Martin. One note confessed he performed imaginary concerts to empty pews just to feel her applause reverberate in memory. Another wondered whether love held measurable weight, because the air in their bedroom felt heavier without her breath. The discovery reframed his stark final recordings as duets rather than soliloquies, conversations sung across a veil only he believed was thin enough to touch. Hank Williams' autopsy outlined a body battered far beyond 29 years, scarred by relentless touring and self-prescribed cocktails intended to muffle spinal pain and heartache. Yet what startled historians most was a faded pharmacy slip folded beside his driver's license, listing a cardiac medication he never collected. The dosage had been custom adjusted to ease strain on a weary heart, yet the bottle remained on a Montgomery shelf, a silent could have been. That knowledge turns the New Year's Eve ride in a powder blue Cadillac into more than a tragic legend. It becomes a math problem missing one pill-shaped variable, the unpurchased seconds that might have stretched the song a little longer. Patsy Klein sensed the curtain lowering days before her plane spiraled down near Camden. She casually gifted pearl earrings to a backup singer, handed a favorite stage gown to her cousin, and told friends she was ready for whatever comes. Those calm gestures became chilling prophecies after the crash, transforming each farewell hug into a final period on a page already numbered. Modern historians describe her composure as though she had tuned herself to a frequency just beyond radio static, able to hear headlines the rest of the world would not read until morning. Waylon Jennings spent 43 years haunted by a single offhand joke traded with Buddy Holly minutes before surrendering his seat on the doomed tour plane. "I hope your plane don't crash." Private notebooks reveal he replayed that line nightly, measuring every encore against a ghostly debt ledger. Even after kicking substances and steering outlaw country toward platinum, he scribbled that thunder sounded like a laugh he never heard Holly finish. Late recordings capture his baritone wobbling on certain vowels, as if each syllable had to squeeze past an invisible passenger still occupying the back row of his mind. Merle Haggard kept a cracked leather journal on his tour bus where he logged weather, set lists, and occasional future dates. The final entry, scribbled beneath a freight train doodle, read simply, "April 6th. That's the day." Pneumonia claimed him on his 79th birthday, exactly as the line predicted. Bandmates had assumed the note mapped a festival slot. Instead, it stamped destiny. They later recalled how, during the last rehearsal, Merle paused mid-verse, smiled, and murmured, "Right on schedule," before strumming into "Sing Me Back Home." Even the poet of the common man timed his exit on the downbeat. Tammy Wynette's aquamarine gowns hid a roadmap of surgical scars and adhesive pain patches. When family ordered an independent autopsy, doctors tallied more than 20 prescriptions swirling through her bloodstream. Lawsuits argued she had been medicated into silence, an icon singing through a chemical haze that softened agony yet muffled every alarm. Studio outtakes now reveal tremors untraceable to heartbreak alone. The Queen of Sorrow may have been wrestling waves of dizziness between verses, gripping the microphone like a lighthouse in storm surge. George Jones penned apologies he never mailed. A shoebox unearthed in 2015 held envelopes addressed to ex-wives, bandmates, even fans left staring at empty stages when his drinking derailed shows. The handwriting steadied in sober months, shook like a branch during relapses, but every seal remained unbroken. Those unsent pleas suggest he doubted forgiveness could pass through paper. Re-listening to He Stopped Loving Her Today, one hears not just a story song, but perhaps the singer rehearsing his own eulogy. Loretta Lynn endured strokes, broken hips, and shifting industry winds, yet she insisted her last studio sessions feel like porch picking with neighbors. Engineers later shared how she recorded seated in a wheelchair, refusing help to turn lyric sheets because, she joked, nobody digs coal sitting down. With that knowledge, her later albums sound different. Every sustained note is a triumph over nerve pain. Each laugh between takes a miner's pick, clinking through stubborn tunnels of bone and steel. Conway Twitty's estate battle hogged headlines, yet quieter discoveries emerged when accountants traced Twitty City tour proceeds to families of fallen first responders. He had routed donations through anonymous foundations, terrified charity might look like publicity. The bulbs twinkling across his famous Christmas display were, unbeknownst to tourists, tiny votive candles for grieving households. That revelation reframes the attraction as a neon cathedral built by a man who preferred generosity to remain off-stage. Keith Whitley's toxicology report confirmed an acute alcohol OD, but the leather planner found in his briefcase listed a rehab check-in 3 mornings later. Fans reading the schedule felt reality glitch. The redemption arc was literally penciled in. Guitar picks taped beside the appointment hinted he meant to write sobriety into brand new songs. The page now sits behind glass, a heartbreaking calendar square that never saw sunrise. Minnie Pearl's straw hat tilted with laughter on television, yet at home she kept her late husband's overcoat hanging by the door, pockets still stuffed with ticket stubs from their courting days. Letters in an embroidered sewing box revealed she accepted endless bookings not for fame, but to dodge the silent house where grief sat heavier than costume jewelry. Knowing that every cheerful howdy now rings like a brave whistle in a dim hallway, Charlie Rich withdrew from bright stages into a cypress-lined cabin, letting silver bangs curtain eyes no spotlight would claim again. Journals published posthumously lamented that popular taste sped past him, leaving a pioneer feeling like a time traveler memorialized only on out-of-print vinyl. Neighbors recall late-night piano runs drifting across the bayou, a one-man concert for bullfrogs and moonlight, unanswered questions echoing between oak trunks. Lefty Frizzell's final studio takes carry a ragged beauty, once mistaken for stylistic flourish. Medical papers released by his family showed a liver ravaged by years of hard drinking, compounded by untreated depression causing fluid that pressed against lungs. With that context, the wheeze beneath each note becomes a heroic climb, every melody a knotted rope he scaled while the floor crumbled below. Roy Acuff, long-hailed king of country, watched the genre detour into pop sheen and scribbled complaints about drum machines that chased fiddles off the porch. Yet he closed most diary entries by blessing the same young singers he scolded. Those pages, printed after his passing, read like firm hugs from a grandfather who corrects with one hand and slips secret chord changes into the other. Porter Wagner's rhinestone suits gleamed louder than any apology, but letters he penned to Dolly Parton shimmered with humility. He admitted pushing too hard during contract battles and begged for one more backstage laugh. Dolly's tearful reading at a private memorial added a final bittersweet modulation to their duet, proving that even chart-topping harmonies can hide unresolved bridges. Each revelation reshapes the melodies echoing through diners, pickup trucks, and kitchen radios. Once you learn that Marty swapped future heartbeats for one more flawless chord, or that Patsy calmly distributed keepsakes like boarding passes to eternity, every familiar chorus grows heavier and more alive. These legends remind us that art is forged from private sacrifices, sealed wounds, and whispered bargains the public never hears. The studio lights fade, the stage curtains dust over, yet diary pages, hospital charts, and love letters keep singing truths the microphones could not capture. Next time a steel guitar glides across the speakers, pause and listen below the fret noise. You may detect the breath of an artist fighting off vertigo, the rattle of pills in a costume pocket, or the quiet scratch of a pen signing a last unsent apology. If music is a house, these hidden stories are the support beams, unseen yet holding the roof through storms. And they offer a warning: guard what matters, share gratitude while the lights are still warm, chase meaning over marketing, because the legacy you leave is braided from decisions nobody else can make for you. Consider your own favorite song. Was it recorded at 2 a.m. while the singer iced swollen fingers? Was the bridge rewritten on a napkin because there wasn't enough money for new paper? Somewhere on that track lives a moment exactly like the ones you have faced. Choices between security and passion, between silence and confession. Country music at its core is a mirror showing ordinary people their own scars, wrapped in rhyme and reverb. These posthumous discoveries only polish that mirror until each reflection is unmistakable. So keep the record spinning. Let the needle drop not just on melody, but on memory, empathy, and unresolved yearning. Let it remind you that courage often arrives dressed as vulnerability, and that even the brightest rhinestones cover seams. And when the last note fades into static, do what these legends can no longer do. Pick up the phone, send the letter, say the thank you, book the doctor, drive the slower road tonight to someone you love. The world does not need another perfect myth. It needs honest echoes that start people talking, singing, and maybe even healing. That is the encore these 21 voices will always crave, and tonight, through you, they just might hear it. Lock these names in your mind and carry them with you next time you hum along at a traffic light. Let Marty remind you to ask what part of yourself you are offering up each time you say yes to work and no to rest. Let Glenn's index cards prod you to write down the birthdays, phone numbers, and pet stories you cherish before forgetfulness comes collecting. Let Buck's muffled frustration whisper that a smile is not always consent, and that it is never too late to step back on stage as the version of yourself you want remembered. Let Roger's late-night cassettes prove that the quietest rooms sometimes echo loudest and deserve a song of their own. Let Dottie's sequins warn that sparkle without solvency becomes a trapdoor. Let Jim's crumpled forecast teach that courage is not the absence of fear, but the decision to steer through it with the belt fastened. Let Johnny's cedar-scented letters nudge you toward paper and pen before the inbox consumes another decade. Let Hank's unused prescription stand beside your still shrink-wrapped self-help book and dare you to uncap it tonight. Let Patsy's calm acceptance show that farewell gifts are really receipts for a life paid in full. Let Waylon's aching baritone assure you guilt can be a metronome, ticking until you change tempo. Let Merle's penciled prophecy certify that sometimes the ending is less surprise than invitation. Let Tammy's tremor, George's unread apologies, and Loretta's wheelchair swing like lanterns along the path, lighting each difficult step. And when the record spins down to hush, may you find yourself in an honest room, humming a brand new chorus that belongs only to you, perfectly imperfect, fiercely alive, and gloriously unfinished. Let the applause be optional, but let the courage be mandatory every time the melody returns home. If you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe, and also click the next video shown on your screen.